What is up, everybody? It's a Tony Cutillo show here live, as always, like we do mostly on Monday nights around 7 or 8 o'clock. Make sure you like and subscribe. As always, hit that notification bell so you know when we are live tonight. Darius Slay released. What's your take on Darius Slay? Where does he rank in the top corners in not just the NFL, but Eagles history? Because, we've had some good corners here, but Darius Slay, one of the best, right? One of the best lockdown corners. So is it part of a bigger plan? I think it is. Do you think possibly maybe he comes back? Lot to get into tonight. Make sure you get your like and subscribe in there, but also your comments. Like we always say, let me share this to the fans right now. Yeah, fans, like I'm a celebrity or something, right? But no, all in all, man, listen, this is a big day. Because this is the first shoe to drop in an off season that, listen, I have in description that it plans probably to be turbulent. Very, very turbulent, right? Very turbulent offseason. For the Philadelphia Eagles. A lot of big decisions to make, a lot of things coming down the pike. So we're gonna see where we wind up, man. We're gonna see where we wind up. But I will say this, man, when we traded for Darius Slay, I mean, we all knew that we wanted him, right? It was one of those deals, we stole him, first of all. Third and a fifth round pick. Like, think about that. We got him for a third and a fifth round pick, 2020. The guy proved his worth over and over again. My man Foods checking in. What's up, Foods? Here's what I would say. I remember when Andy Reid made the trade for Jason Peters from the Buffalo Bills, another veteran, but was still in his prime and just needed to be on a better situation. Gave up a first and third. And, that was the beginning of, listen, the Eagles never used to give up great draft capital like that to bring guys in. So when Darius Slay became available, it was very exciting for us. And to get him for a third and a fifth, the same kind of deal, bringing in that guy that's just about finishing up his prime, but still got some many years left. And at 34, man, like he had a fantastic year. Like I think that we forget how good of a year Darius Slay really had for the Philadelphia Eagles, and a lot of changes for Darius Slay too, personality wise. Again, we know Darius loves him some Darius, right? We know Slay loves him some Slay. He looks himself in the mirror a couple times every day before he leaves the house. You know that. I get it. It's okay, right? Listen, he thinks he's a beautiful man. That's what he likes, right? It's okay. But the thing is, if you looked at that and right away, if you judged him based on that perception, you wouldn't see all the good mentoring he did with guys like Q, with guys like Cooper DeJean, right? You wouldn't have been able to see the mentorship that he was able to give the young guys, even guys like Kelly Ringo, even guys like Isaiah Rodgers. And let's say this, think about it. Even for guys that he could know that potentially, listen, he's a smart guy. He's a smart business guy. He understands the way it works. He knew he was going to have a very lofty cap number, right? He understood that. He understood that very, very well. And he also knew that this kind of cap casualty was coming. Don't you remember when they gave him a little more money and they restructured his deal just a little bit? Right? They did that specifically. And we all were like, oh, well, that's definitely going to be a dead year. Listen, Howie Roseman understands the way this entire metric works. I still think again, check in. Let me know what you think about Darius Slay coming back. Let me think. You think this is the end of Darius Slay? I don't. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't. One thing I will say is the chemistry and the cohesion that they had on this Philadelphia Eagles defense this year. I really feel that a guy like Vic Fangio, even a guy like Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman, look at this and they say, run it back. Like, can we run it back? And this being able to run it back, this is the first part of the scenario, right? This is the first part of the scenario where we say, can we run it back? Who are we going to run it back with? Remember, Brandon Graham came back last year when they thought, he was going to be gone. 1-year deal. Don't be surprised. Now, here's the thing about Darius. Potentially, maybe he gets some money somewhere else. I listen, 34, not sure. Maybe goes back to Detroit. Maybe has some suitors out there. I don't know. right? I don't know. I mean, listen, he reminds you of like Champ Bailey, right? Champ Bailey played to his late 30s, right? You remind me of that. So yeah, Fuji says if you could bring Slay back in on a cheaper deal, you do it. Right? You do it. Look at my man JW. Now JW, my man Wags is a Cincy guy, right? And we talked about Cincy. So he says if the rumors here in Cincy are true, Sam Hubbard would be a nice fit for your Eagles. I believe he would be. I really do. I like that. See, some insight from Cincinnati. My man Jimmy Wags. My man Richie D checks it says big play Slay came in, just did the job. Super Bowl winner. Slay mentored all the young guys and showed them all the way and led to the chip. I'll tell you, man, just watching what Darius Slay did, even from things that you're not used to him seeing, man. I saw him laying out a few times. With some tackles, man. Like I seen it. So, that's where you say this guy wants to win, right? He's ready. This guy wants to win. And let's remember, play this. This is a quick clip at 1 minute 23 seconds. Remember, wasn't too far ago, right? Only a year and a half, basically, right? So where Darius Slay locks down the best wide receiver in football on the main stage on Monday Night Football. That's Justin Jefferson of the Minnesota Vikings. So let's peep into this, okay? Let's peep into this because again, this was a very memorable night. And if you don't remember, I'm going to refresh your memory right now because we're gonna share the screen. I want to show you exactly big play space. So
I already thought he was
right
one
here.
of the top two. So much better than even I thought he was. 3rd down and 5. Cousins backs up, throws. Jefferson broken up.
I remember all week everybody was talking about Slay, right?
Watching along with the rest of us as the pass is caught by Jefferson, makes the grab, turns, and
everybody was talking about can't hang with JJ.
Good protection.
He lost the step, right?
Passes intercepted
again,
by
man.
Slay.
These are the memorable games that you remember from Darius Slay. When we needed him to step up, Darius Slay stepped up. I don't care if he changed his name. I don't care if he went on a podcast. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter. Like, come on, man. Like, he was all over in this game, right? When they told him he was essentially done. Right? He was done, they say. Almost had 2 picks in that game. Darius Slay was all over,
just threw it up for
he made Justin Jefferson look normal, man. He made him look normal.
Cousins to the end
zone. That was huge. Actually, he did have 2 picks in that game. There you go. Remember, again, like, this is why you bring a guy like Slay here, right? And they're going to be the memories that we constantly remember. They're going to be the memories that we remember of Darius Slay. I mean, I can't say a week 2 of last year. Yeah, Foods, like, again, right? Week 2 of last year. I got another one. Remember this one, right? Let's remember this one. Again, this is this year, right? At 34, going 1-on-1 with a very, very, very speedy receiver. Okay. Very speedy receiver in Dotavian Wicks from Green Bay. And look what happens here. These are, again, more memories of Darius Slay.
To keep his defense off the field.
Love. Take
look. Step for step, over the shoulder. Again, man, he will be forever remembered as
take a shot
going down the far side. Ask you guys, man. Besides Eric Allen, right? Eric Allen is on his own island. Okay, Eric Allen is on his own island to me. Besides Eric Allen in Philadelphia Eagles history, was there a better cornerback than Darius Slay? I asked the audience, was there a better quarterback than Darius Slay? I mean, listen, we had Lito, right? We had the Lito and Sheldon years. We had the Troy and Bobby years. I get it. But I don't think, besides Eric Allen, I don't think we've ever seen a better corner than Darius Slay in Philadelphia. And just think about what we did. We rescued him from mediocrity. You know, if he stayed in Detroit and didn't want to get traded and didn't want to go try to win a ring, he would have just wasted his again his existence in the NFL in the city of Motown, or not Motown. Motown's Detroit, right? Well, yeah, Motown. I'm thinking I'm an idiot. Sometimes I start thinking Detroit, Chicago. I get all over the place sometimes. Talk too many sports on a daily basis. But I do. I think that looking at him strategically, I do think that he is the number 2 best corner in Philadelphia Eagles history. Now, if you look at the NFL, and I think it's going to take a special place for Darius Slay to go to. Could it be a team that has, a very, very young and controllable number 1, or a very, very good? Because I don't listen, and this is no disrespect to Darius Slay. I just don't think he's the 1A elite anymore. But I think he's a hell of a 1B, right? So, and again, if you think about it from a Philadelphia standpoint, I think it's even more important on why we should think about, are we going to bring him back? Because if everybody is getting locked down by Quinyon Mitchell, and everybody, or was it Quinonimo Bay, right? Like, if everybody is locked down by Quinyon Mitchell, they're going to throw to the other side. Now, I understand that, listen, we all love Cooper DeJean, and I'm not saying Cooper DeJean is not ready, but what I'm saying is, if it ain't broke, why fix it? Right? If it ain't broke, why fix it? Right? And again, my whole thing is, I'm looking at this as kind of like, hey, Howie goes to Darius and says, look, man, we can't pay you at this cap number. I think that, let's talk, let's negotiate, let's figure out what you want. At the same time, we understand that you're going to look around, right? See, age is going to see if there's some options out there. But I think you could see even Howie orchestrate like a 2-year deal that's very backloaded. That again, they trust Howie. My man Carlos checking in says, in Howie we trust. Exactly, right? In Howie I trust, in Howie we trust, right? So, and in Howie the players trust. So if he makes some sort of handshake agreement with Darius Slay, listen, I think Darius Slay goes for it. It's going to be very interesting. Now, Food says Troy Vincent. When I said, is there a better player, better corner in Philadelphia Eagles history? Obviously, besides Eric Allen. Okay, Eric Allen's always going to be your number 1. But as the next best corner in Philadelphia Eagles history, I say it's not Troy. I say it's Slay. And I love Troy Vincent. I mean, when we brought Troy over from Miami, I'll tell you what, when him and Bobby T were in the mix, Bobby T was the long and big guy coming over to lock down the big receivers, right? Like Alvin Harper over there for the Dallas Cowboys. So again, they were some great years. The Lito and Sheldon years were great. But I'm sorry, none of those guys hold a candle to Darius Slay. And listen, I know it's a 4-year thing, but he won us a ring. And not only did he win us a ring, or I should say this, not only did he win a ring here, but he was a very intricate part of the plan in order to get us that ring. He made some hellacious plays, okay? Hellacious plays. And again, I guarantee. Can I say a little final book? I guarantee. Can we take it back? Because I know we'll be watching Raw on Netflix tonight. But guarantee, right? Like The Rock used to say, I guarantee that if Darius Slay is not around this year, that we do not see the huge strides made from a kid like Cooper DeJean. I do not see the huge lockdown potential of Quinyon Mitchell. They would be very good, but he took them to the next level in just 1 year. Yes, Vic Fangio orchestrates the entire structure. I understand that, right? but Darius Slay with his mentorship, okay, and the ability, right? The ability to be able to help these young guys, it just took it to another level, man. It took it to another level. My Jet Wax, like I said, trade proposal, Slay Howie. You could all have Hubbard and Duke Tobin. I wouldn't wish Tobin on anyone. Listen, I'll tell you what, man. You need some help out there on the defense in Cincinnati, bro. So I definitely know you would love, but if they didn't pay Jesse Bates, they're not paying Darius Slay, man. They don't pay nobody out there in Cincy. My man Carlos says Darius Slay deserves a lot of credit because he was in man coverage a lot this season. He played through nagging injuries as well and came up big in the playoffs. That's a great point, right? It's another reason why, Carlos, that you probably know this. And again, Carlos, if you are a new watcher, please hit that subscribe, hit that like button the first time I've seen you in the chat. So I greatly appreciate you joining in. You made a very, very good point. Another player who changed the way they play for the sake of the team. And I will say this, and I said this at the beginning, I'm going to continue to say it, and I think everybody knows this, but if you're talking about Darius Slay of 7 years ago, it's not happening. He's not changing. Darius Slay, as he got older, right? He got more mature and he got wiser. And he started getting hungrier, right? That's what happens with the veterans. They start getting hungry. They want that ring. And yes, he deserved a lot of credit because he was in man coverage a ton. And there was injuries. You watched him go off the field and come back. You watched him, listen, he had nagging injuries because, number one, he's a veteran. They all had them, right? Because the soft tissue injuries can always sneak up. But he played through it when normally he might not have. Came up huge in the playoffs. Again, huge. I mean, was step for step. And again, one thing that's going to go underrated, and I didn't get these stats, so next time I'll try to look up these stats, but it's coming to my head now. You think about how many times his side was thrown to because of avoiding Quinyon Mitchell. That makes this year even more special at 34, right? Makes it more special at 34. So I think Darius Slay has one more very, very good year at him. And looking at the way that the defense is just so stacked, and looking at the way, we can really go for another chip and compete with this defense, I think I would find a way to bring them back, man. My man Rich checking in says, Darius brought into the team. Yes, he bought into the team concept and not personal stats, which we heard, right? We heard all year, Rich. This year, nagging injuries play through all of them, which, again, Rich, you're like me. As a Philly, you like I just said to Carlos, normally he wouldn't do that. He wouldn't play through that. He just wouldn't do it, right? And the crazy part is, here's the thing, even though as you get older, you get hungrier, but the guys that usually play through the nagging injuries, the guys that don't know any better, right? Like you saw Landon Dickerson and you saw Cam Jurgens play through those injuries, right? They're younger guys. They figure they're invincible. I can come back from this. When you get the older veterans, they're more susceptible to re-aggravate, right? The injury. And they're usually less willing to play through it because they know it could go real bad real fast. And that's a credit to Darius Slay. So Carlos says, what position does Howie choose with our first pick? I like the kid Pearson from Tennessee and this kid Jackson from Toledo, both defensive ends. Carlos, I'll tell you this, man. This brings up I'm glad you brought that up because, a lot of people are starting to talk about, again, and rightfully so, the Myles Garrett situation. And I will tell you that if you go back on this page, probably about like 2 weeks ago, I did a quick hit. I like to do. You follow the playlists that I do. One of them called "Spiking the Pigskin," where I drop some content about specific topics, and one of those is I firmly believe that the Eagles are going not just make a push, but are going to land Myles Garrett. And I look at this Darius Slay cut as the first step. So I'm looking at Howie saying, I am going to make every move possible to give me the ability to snag Myles Garrett. And if they do that, then obviously you're not going to have to worry about what position they're drafting in the first round because that pick's going to go to Cleveland. Okay. Now, I thought Howie said some very interesting comments about at the meetings when he talked about, some things that may not be what you think are going to happen. Maybe players that you thought were going to be here aren't going to be here. Maybe players that you thought that aren't going to be here are going to be here, right? This is all about, first of all, finding how much that cap expanded, finding out who, again, right now they're going through who can they extend, right? Who can they extend? Who can they restructure? Is there anybody willing to restructure, right? So if you think about it, like this is the first shoe to drop, and this is the first shoe to understand about, okay, what do we need to do? What kind of cap space do we need to free up? And what kind of draft assets are we going to have to give up in order to get Myles Garrett, or at least make a pitch to get Myles Garrett? Listen, all that, that's a smokescreen when Howie was talking about, we don't do this, we don't do that. I'm telling you right now, listen, I was live on the air. I was live on the air on Sirius the draft night when they broke the news of A.J. Brown. I was live on the air, and I'll tell you what, that came out of nowhere. Nobody saw that coming, right? Nobody. Even poor ass Mike Vrabel, who was pissed that they traded away A.J. Brown. So you can't underestimate Howie Roseman. Howie Roseman wants to win, right? We know that. Ricardo says, if I'm Cleveland, you have to give me the farm. I mean, first round picks, the firstborn, and Howie included in a trade. Here's the thing, though, and this could work two ways, and I agree, right? Well, the thing is, Cleveland, they have a lot to lose. They have a lot to lose. So you already had, listen, you have the whole Deshaun Watson situation, right? They gave up everything for him, and it hasn't worked out. Myles Garrett holds some cards here, okay? Now, he is not a guy that's going to hold out, but he's also a guy whose agent said, listen, we're going to cut off contract negotiations. No extension talks. So as an organization that's already behind the eight ball with younger players, who's already behind the eight ball at the quarterback position, who already has a ton of decisions to make and no draft picks, okay, because they all went to Houston, you have to do something and not allow Myles Garrett to be a dead player, right? Yeah, Fuchs, he has 2 years left on his deal. This year coming up included, which means if they keep him this year, then next year, okay, he's going to walk, right? He's not signing. He's going to walk, right? So what I'm saying is he wants an extension. And whatever team wants to bring him in, it's going to want to. And here's the thing. This is why I think it's a great point that you bring up, Fuchs, because, this is why I think the Eagles are in the driver's seat when it comes to Myles Garrett. Howie Roseman, I talked about this before. I'm going to talk about it again. Howie Roseman has really built an extreme amount of credibility and trust within the NFL circles. That means with NFL executives and also NFL players. And the reason why I say that is knowing Myles Garrett has 2 years left on the deal, knowing he wants an extension. If anybody, any GM, could make a handshake deal, even if it means getting through half the season, it would be Howie Roseman. And Myles Garrett would have no reason not to believe Howie Roseman and at least go through the motions until the extension is done. And I don't think any other team would be able to do that because he would want the extension up front. Just again, I have no sources. This is just my opinion. Just trying to put the dots together. Okay. Trying to put the dots together. Carlos says extending Cam will help our cap and the salary cost due first designation, which saves like $4 million. Bradbury will save like exactly. Now, Cam Jurgens is one of those guys that's up for extension. You saw him do it with Dickerson already earlier last year, and they're going to do the same thing with Cam Jurgens. Now, I'm glad you brought up Cam Jurgens because here's my issue. I know we're all talking about, everybody's talking about Zach Bond and everybody's talking, but I'll say it. I'm going to say it again. My number one offseason priority in free agency, my number one is Mekhi Becton over Zach Bond. Mekhi Becton over Zach Bond. Why? Because you have, again, Lane Johnson getting up there in age. You have Cam Jurgens, who just got back surgery. You have Landon Dickerson, also going to have surgery. Now you have a guy, and listen, Steen played fantastic. I understand that. But Mekhi Becton was put into a role this year that he's never played, and he excelled in it. Will he excel in that role somewhere else? I don't know. But I think it's the best interest of the Philadelphia Eagles to do everything they can to bring him back first, because he can be in a hybrid offensive lineman that they will need going forward to fill in at times, possibly at the tackle position. Okay. Again, you think about what happened when Jurgens went out and Dickerson had to step in. Yes. Steen steps in. Okay. Well, if there's no Becton and Steen steps in, well, who's the other guard? Right? Are they going to be okay? What happens if something happens to Lane Johnson? Okay. Again, do you trust Mekhi Becton? Can he be able to be that guy out there? I think he can. I do. I think he can. Right? Lane will most likely restructure. Caller says, I agree. He restructures every year. Every year. Rich says, how he Mr. Cap? Absolutely. He should start a class, man. Like, he's already loaded, right? He just start a class and everybody would follow, right? Becton, Carlos says, that's Howie Jewish. I never worry about the cap with him, man. Oh, man, that's funny. But yeah, Lane, listen, Mekhi Becton was drafted as a tackle. He was drafted as a tackle. Nobody knows. Remember this. Nobody knows if he had the inability to play tackle or he just was mentally frustrated and then had the coaching in order to help him transition and get through the first couple years of this level of competition. And I do think, yes, Stoutland University. I do think if we would have drafted him as a tackle and we didn't have tackles, I think he would have been a tackle. I think Stoutland would have been able to get him to be a tackle. Okay. And again, what they did, I think, is brilliant. They put him in a position to where he was the biggest, tallest guard in the NFL, going up against smaller, inferior people to help him regain and build confidence, because they already knew the raw ability was there. Mekhi Becton lost it up here, man. He had to be reborn, and he was under Jeff Stoutland. He was under Nick Sirianni. So again, I think that Mekhi Becton for me, and I'm gonna trust Vic Fangio, man. I keep calling Fangio's farm. I'm gonna call it Fangio's farm. I am going to trust Vic Fangio that if Zach Bond does walk and get the bag that, listen, let's be honest, that he rightfully deserves, then I think Vic can make it work. I do. I think Vic can make it work. Carlos says, I say Rodgers comes back on a very cat-friendly deal. I wouldn't mind running him with Quignon next season with Ringo at backup, and we draft some DBs later in the draft. Listen, that's definitely the other option that you have, right? Isaiah Rodgers played sparingly last year, and when he was pressing the duty, he played well. He's smaller than I thought he was going to be. He wasn't as physical, but we also have to understand too, that, this was a reclamation project in Isaiah Rodgers. So, possibly maybe with Isaiah Rodgers with an entire offseason of conditioning, entire offseason of scheme work, as the number one guy, maybe he takes I would say a mediocre player into a great player. You just never know. Or I should say mediocre. He was a good corner, right? He was good. But you just have to remember, here's the thing. When we talk about Isaiah Rodgers, and I do, I love Isaiah Rodgers, the way he came in. I love him battling back through all the adversity. I love him giving the FU to the Inquirer, when they horrible PR move. Listen, I'm in PR. I run my own PR company. I do a lot of media work, a lot of public relations work. I write press releases. I write pitches for a living. I deal with producers. I deal with writers every day. And I'll tell you what, man, that headline was horrendous. I can't believe the Inquirer wasn't sued for that. Okay, I cannot believe it wasn't sued for that. It was ridiculous. Talk about defamation of character. That was terrible. There's no way he signed off on that, and that's why these reporters, some of them, that's why nobody wants to talk to them, because they scheme everything around, and they skirt the truth a little bit, and they really put that bogus headline out there. So, getting through that adversity, obviously coming back from what his demons were to play really well was fantastic. But here's the thing. Are you okay to say he's going to be a lockdown corner? And I say that because, remember, whoever plays opposite of Quinyon Mitchell, okay, is going to be targeted more than Quinyon. Now, he's not going to have, their number one on him all the time, right? But they're going to move players around. They're going to try to adjust. You're going to have Cooper DeJean as your nickel, and you're going to play a lot of nickel, right? But we just have to understand that, are we ready for the Isaiah Rodgers experiment? Because I think that if you do bring him back, and you really got to be careful. You got to make sure that he is the guy. But listen, if it happens, it happens. Listen, I'm just saying, if there's an opportunity to bring Slay back, I am 100% doing it. Now, Carlos says, I'm confident in Oren Burks. Now, I think Oren Burks is going to play a key role this year for the Philadelphia Eagles. Remember, I don't know if you read the story about Nakobe Dean, but he said like his kneecap was in his thigh. Like he was trying to push his kneecap back into place and it kept popping out. Oh my God, a horrific injury. Right. So just hearing that and understanding when it happened in the playoffs, I say to myself, he's not going to be 100% for training camp. So if he's not going to be 100%, it might take him half the year to regain his ability, right? So Oren Burks, to me, is a very important bring back, right? Knows the system, right? Knows the system and played extremely well, right? Played extremely well. He played in the Super Bowl with the Niners on that defense. He comes here and he knew the scheme right away. Vic trusts him. The players like him. They like his leadership. He's a veteran. Listen, yes, he will be back. I will be absolutely shocked if Oren Burks comes back. Now, are you telling me you're okay with Oren Burks being Zach Bond? No, I'm not okay with him being a replacement for Zach Bond, but I'm okay for Oren Burks to play the role that he did and even expand it a little bit if it means taking over for Nakobe for an extended period of time. I'm okay with that. But if you do let Bond go, this isn't going to be the thing where you just throw it like Trotter Jr. in there, right? It's not going to be like that. You don't take damn near defensive player of the year and just throw anybody in there and it works. That Bond would be a tremendous loss. But I still think that Vic is powerful enough and smart enough to be able to either draft a very, very good player or sign a very, very good player that could be serviceable for next year based on his defense. I do. I really think that's an option. Rich says Jets coaching was trash, plus injuries hindered Becton. Absolutely, man. He didn't say a chance out there. He didn't say a chance out there. Harlow says, Richie, that's lets you know how great Jeff Stoutland is. He turned him into a right guard at 6'7", 363 pounds. Think about that. 6'7". 6'7", man. Like he was a man amongst boys out there. It's crazy. Crazy to me. Again, it's the Tony Cutillo Show live right here on YouTube, on Facebook, on X. Make sure you get over to that YouTube page, like and subscribe. Appreciate all the support as always. Always talking different things right here on the Tony Cutillo Show. Can't wait to go watch Raw in a little bit. And, even though I got some issues with, Cena not being, showing up the March 17th now, we'll get into that in another episode. Rich says Dean said he popped it back and then got up and it went back to his thigh. So more likely, exactly, he's not going to be ready for camp or for the beginning of the season. There's no way he's going to be behind. We all know he's going to be behind, right? And again, it takes a little while, and let's face it, man. It usually takes a year to get to rebuild that strength. So, this could be a really tough injury. Again, which could be, the reason why maybe they do prioritize Bourne over Becton, right? But again, I'm not Howie Roseman. I'm not the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm just saying, looking at from the long game perspective, I would lock up Mekhi Becton. That's just what I would do. I think he's too much of an integral part of an offensive scheme and system and line that you need to keep together. Even draft order, I don't care, but just keep this line together. You have to remember, knock on wood. I'm a big knock on wood superstitious guy, but we for the most part, except for the little injuries here and there from Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson, we stayed pretty healthy, along that offensive line this year. And odds are not going to be in our favor to do that again with guys being older and not just that. This is a long run, right? It's a long run now in the playoffs, and when you go to the Super Bowl and you win the Super Bowl, and it's not just games, it's the practices, it's the time, it's the travel, right? It's the film study, it's the extra work, it's the extra lifting sessions. Like, there's a reason why it's so hard to get back. All right. Because, a lot of times the road just becomes a little more blurry, right? Rich says, WWE, baby, you can't see me. Shot heard around the world, Rich. Shot heard around the world. I knew it was coming, man. I knew it was coming. Not to get off base, but Rich, I loved every second of it. I did. And this is going to sound like blasphemous. It really is, and it might not be a popular opinion. And listen, I like Cody, and I'm glad, but I'm over it. I'm over it. I'm over Cody Rhodes. Sorry. Like I am. I'm over Cody Rhodes. I want a heel WWE champion. I want the tribal chief back. I want the Brock Lesnar champion back. And if I can't have them, I want corporate Cena. Right. And I love it. The only thing that pisses me off is, it's so hypocritical from Cena, because Cena, all he did was bitch and moan when, Rock would come back and steal the spotlight from guys, and, and he was only a part-timer. Well, here you go. You for some people, which I don't agree with, but for some people say this was the biggest heel turn in wrestling history. And then you're not going to show up until the 17th of March. A little hypocritical. You go back to Africa to continue to film your movie. I don't know. Get into another episode, because I got a whole thing to talk about when it comes to WWE and the world of wrestling, man. But yeah, I would keep the offensive line intact. I would keep it going for at least another year as these guys continue to gel and get better. I mean, listen, we already have, this whole, and I don't want to talk about the tush push thing. It annoys me because I'm so pissed off about it that I can't believe that, we're in a society of men where we cry about it because we can't stop. It's just so ridiculous. So, I'm not even into that. What I will say though, is, why do you think that they are mad about the play? Because we have such a dominant offensive line. Why can't anybody else emulate it? Why can't anybody else replicate the success? Because we have the best line in football. So why not bring it back? Why not run it back, man? One more time. Run it back. Let's run it back. Listen, again, that's why I'd want to keep Becton. That's why I would want to keep Becton. Now, looking around at everywhere else, I think that we can all agree that Josh Sweat is going to be gone. I mean, you already hear the whispers coming out about him getting paid, which is fine. Listen, I ain't hating on it. I'm not. I'm really, really not. He had a tremendous Super Bowl. He had a good year. Now, I will say this. I have an inkling that Bryce Huff can actually come back and have a really good year this year. I do. And hear me out. So before Bryce Huff got hurt, if you remember, before he got hurt, he actually put about 2 to 3 or 4 good games together. He got off the line pretty well, got to the quarterback, listen, pressures, no sacks. I get it. Okay. But here's another guy comes from the Jets, very dysfunctional franchise, comes over to a team and a defensive coordinator that in reality probably isn't the most patient kind of guy. Old school kind of demeanor, a guy that says, you know what? I want it done and I want it done now. This is the guy that brought in the defense after winning the friggin' Super Bowl and saying, I'm pissed that we gave up 22 points after winning the damn Super Bowl, right? So if you think Fangio for 1 minute was going to be easy on a guy that can't pick up a scheme, you're wrong. So he was already behind the 8 ball, already had to adjust, already knew he had to live up to a big money payday, right? Because listen, I do think that weighed on him a little bit. Okay, I really do. And he did put a couple decent games together. Then he gets hurt. He comes back, and the rook in Jalen Hunt, who is built just like Bryce Huff, learned some really good moves. And Vic was a guy that pushed him in the right direction, and he became very, very serviceable. Actually, could have had 2 sacks in the Super Bowl. Okay, so I look at Jalen Hunt and I look at Bryce Huff and say, "Yo, guess what? If I can take both of those guys and make them both into part-time, pretty good pass rushers, I'm already ahead of the game with Nolan Smith on the other side." So I do think that Bryce Huff is going to be serviceable. And again, that's not to say that's if, here you go, that's if we don't get Myles Garrett. Because if we get Myles Garrett, that either Nolan Smith or Jalen Hunt is going to Cleveland. I hope you guys know that, right? So we're going to have to be willing to give up one of those or both of those young pieces for that matter in order to get Myles Garrett. And I'm not even sneezing at that. My man, see it checking in. Yo, see you. What's up, brother? As always, appreciate you checking in. Rich says, Cody, time is over. Give me corporate heel Cena. He has done the exact thing that he blamed The Rock for. I know, man. He is. Now, I'm curious and I'm interested to see how good of a heel John Cena could play and not the doctor of thugonomics heel. I am very curious how this is going to play out. And, I think the promos are going to be electric, right? I do. I think they're going to be electric. And I think that here's the thing. They set up last year. Let me talk real fast, WWE for a minute, and we'll get back on track before we get out of here. But they set up last year in the WWE for WrestleMania that whole Roman Reigns, Cody, where Taker comes out, Cena comes out. They set that up. Yeah, you already see guys saying like Stone Cold saying, "Yo, if Cody needs my help, I'll be there." The Nature Boy, Ric Flair saying, "Yo, I'm not letting Cena break the so they're already setting you up for stuff like that that's going to happen. But I'm telling you, man, I think Cena's going to win that belt. They want Cena. They want Cena to break that record. Just saying that, man. Just saying that. All right, let's get back to some football. Richie D says every other team can't do what the Eagles line and Hurts can do. The Eagles' success rate is 95%. Rest of the league around 75% with that play. So true. Fangio isn't letting off the gas. It doesn't matter the player. Fangio will put best players out there no matter what the salary And he proved that, excuse me, this year. And that's what, listen, you get that leverage and you get that respect when you've been in the league so long and you've proved to be so dominant for so long. Oh man, Albert checking in. What's up, Albert? He says, love Fangio. Wish he was still here in Chicago. People forget the Chicago run, man. He'll forget about Fangio's been everywhere. Chicago, Denver, Miami. I mean, he's been everywhere, right? He stands test of time. And the thing about Vic, I I heard a great story. I forget who it was. It was a reporter that was saying, because Vic's just a normal guy. Like he's a normal guy. And they said, was it after the parade or one? I think it wanted to be. He was walking. They saw him walking, and they said, he's like, I'm just going to walk. They're like, you're walking. He's like, yeah, what the hell? I'm going to take a walk. So they picked him up and they drove him home. But I'm thinking like that's the kind of guy Vic Fangio is. And listen, I'm ready to listen, people. I'm ready to have that conversation. Okay. I know, and this is we're gonna end on this because I want to have this conversation on another dime. And that's gonna be best defensive coordinator in Eagles history. Vic Fangio for what he did. After 1 year, can you already put him above Jim Johnson and Buddy Ryan? I'm just throwing it out there because what he did last year. I don't think Buddy or Jimbo can do what Vic did last year to that Chiefs team in the Super Bowl. Sorry. The performance, listen, you can have all the talent in the world. We've seen this before, right? We've seen teams on paper, very talented teams, right? That can't win. We've seen it. We've seen it right here in Philadelphia. Okay? So you have to be able to coach these players, coach them up, scheme them up in order to take those talents from paper, put them on the field, and execute. And when you're dealing with young rookies and some veterans that are still under the gun to get paid, it's very hard to make the greater good the most important thing. And not only did Vic do that, obviously with Nick Sirianni's help, but he put on a performance, a legendary defensive performance in the Super Bowl that I'm not sure will ever be duplicated. No blitzes on one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history against one of the best head coaches who calls the plays on offense in NFL history, Andy Reid. He played a game of chess and he won multiple checkmates, if that's even possible, because I don't play chess. But multiple checkmates he won. And that's why I say that he is above and beyond already Jim Johnson and Buddy Ryan. But that's going to be for another day. Listen, as always, I'm going to wrap this up. Okay, I want to get in here. I think it's a great 48 minutes. I like to keep 45 to an hour every Sunday because, again, make sure you like and subscribe the YouTube page. There's literally, I have probably 2 to 3 pieces of content that are going to be going up every single day. If you are in the sports betting space, I am dropping my futures every single day. I have the Reds futures up. I have the Diamondback futures up. Over the next 2 days, we will have the Phillies and the Mets up. And this is just win totals. There is a playlist for MLB futures, and it's all, as always, powered by the great people over there at Odd Shopper and Odd Shopper Tails, where you want to tail the expert, right? And the link is in the description if you want to get involved. Again, $20 a month for the plus money prop train, $20 a month for the jigsaw pieces, or a combined $40 a month to give you the same plays that you need to win every single night. Top odds, top book, come home, grab a cup of coffee, put the picks in Discord, boom, and you're done. Very, very simple. And watch you hit and hit and hit. You're going to lose some, but you're going to hit too. I can guarantee you that. So, as always, everybody, like I always say, man, have a fantastic evening. It's been real. Appreciate all the support on the Tony Cutillo show. We will continue to be dropping more and more content. I will be continue to drop in more segments. I got power rankings coming. I have top threes coming. Man, it is going to be an exciting month and a brand new show dropping in about 2 weeks. Me and Tom, A2D Radio. It's going to be live. It's going to be unscripted. It's going to be unfiltered. And damn, it's going to be fun. All right, everybody. Have a fantastic evening. Catch you back here next time.